you've ever heard of the rules of three, you've heard that you can't survive 3 days without water. But I want to challenge this, and I'm only challenging this because this is wildly inaccurate for so many different reasons. There's no exact amount of time in which you'll become dehydrated, but the basics of dehydration is you're either not bringing in enough liquids or you are exerting yourself in which you are losing a lot of fluid, like with exercising or, like you're breastfeeding or whatever the case may be, you are getting dehydrated faster. If you don't drink water, even within like 4 hours or so, you can start feeling dehydrated, very thirsty. Once you start feeling thirsty, you're already starting to feel dehydrated. You're not excessively dehydrated at that point, but your body is starting to say, hey, I need water. Okay. Our bodies need so much water. So I want to say right off the bat that 1 gallon a day is not enough. Period. 2 gallons a day is minimum. I mean, I would even go for way more than that, because that 1 gallon a day should be for drinking alone. You should be continually sipping on water throughout the day to stay properly hydrated. Not only should you stay hydrated because of your general health, but you should stay hydrated because when you eat food, your body needs that water to properly digest things. You don't need a ton of water, but a little bit of water, okay? So saying that you can survive 3 days without water is really theoretical at best, because really once you get past that 1 day point, you're going to be hurting so bad. You could be vomiting, you could be having diarrhea, you could be having a severe cramps, you could be having, mental fatigue and just fatigue in general. You could be having so many other issues that maybe you're not surviving. You're just trying to hang on, right? That's no way to survive. It's no way to thrive, okay? So let's find the ways that you can store water and keep water on hand, or at least be able to find water, access water, have clean water ready to go. Okay, so the first one is water storage containers. Any water storage containers, there's a lot of options out there. I'm kind of throwing some pictures here on the screen, but water storage containers are probably one of the best ways that you can do it, because you can just store your tap water in there. You can put like a little bit of bleach or tablets or something in there as you put it in there. Make sure that you've cleaned them out and stack them up. Even in apartments, there are stackable options. If you live on land or a little bit bigger space, you can have cisterns that are outside or buried to store water as well. Bathtub water storage. I love the bathtub water storage because it's so easy. You just hook it up, you just put it in your bathtub, hook it up to your faucet, and just water comes out and fills up this bathtub, this bladder that is going to give you so much access to just ready to go water. Now, if you don't have the bladder, you can still fill up your bathtub. Make sure that your bathtub is clean, or sanitize the water before you take it out of that bathtub. And also fill up your sinks. Fill up your, any sort of bowls or cups or literally anything, buckets, fill it all up. Rainwater harvesting. I love rainwater harvesting. I think it's one of the best things that you can do for yourself and your family and your pets in order to have water easily and readily accessible to you. Rainwater, you don't have to get complicated. In like apartment spaces, you can just get a bucket, stick it outside when it's raining, collect that water, okay? Don't overcomplicate it. Now, if you want a more complicated system, not complicated, but a more robust system, like if you have your own land or space or whatever, and of course you can get the 275-gallon totes or whatever else and put those outside and collect water in those. I've even made it out of a trash can. This is my infamous trash can rainwater collection system that I used for years, and it was beautiful. It worked amazing. If you're on well water like we are, I highly recommend that you have some sort of pump, cistern, and or generator in order to run your pump. Most wells will have some sort of pump to get that well out of the ground, right? So you want a hand pump, you want a solar system in order to run your pump, you need some sort of generator to run your pump. We are going to be doing a DIY pump in the future, so look out for that. But you can also have a buried cistern, or you can have an above ground cistern, a black cistern, that you have always filled with water, but you're still going to have to get the water out of there somehow, right? With a pump or something. Now, if you have a gravity fed that's above, that's really ideal, because then you have gravity fed, right? You don't have to have a pump, but that is something that you'll have to consider if that's an option for you. Okay, so water filters, I think everybody should have suitable water filters for them. They need you need to invest in all types of water filters. Even though you have all of these sources, like with the cisterns and the tap water and the bathtub and all this, like you're collecting all this water, but maybe you want to sanitize it. Maybe, you're just uncertain. It's sat there for a while and you just want to sanitize it before you consume it or use it for cooking purposes, something like that. So invest in lots of water filters, purifiers, things like that. Reverse osmosis. Filter and boil, distillation, tablets, bleach. Bleach only has a 1-year shelf life, UV, and any other filtration and purification methods. Bottled water. Honestly, bottled water is one of the most easily accessible, and while I understand the bottled water industry is like it's just evil, okay? I get that, but for emergency purposes, bottled water is one of the absolute best ways to have water right there on hand, ready to go, okay? You have bottled water that is right there. It's already purified, it's already sealed, it's already ready to go. You grab it, open, that's it, right? So not just, it's the gallon size, it's the small size, whatever you want, but bottled water is one of the best ways and easiest ways that you can immediately store water. Keep it in a cool, dark place. No matter what we're talking about with any of this water, keep it away from direct sunlight. So even the cisterns, it should be black, and you should be purifying it with bleach or UV or whatever you want to do if it's outside. Same with the rainwater, you will definitely want to sanitize or purify that before you use it, whatever we're talking about. But bottled water, some have said that it actually could have an infinite shelf life. I know some are concerned with the plastic leaching. Honestly, I wouldn't really be concerned about it. You can throw it through a filter or a purification method if you want before you use it. Freeze your water. That's right. I love to freeze water. I reuse old bottles of we get this. I did a short about it a while ago. We get these like bubbly waters, and then I refill it and then put it in the freezer. We have our freezer full of water. In fact, I need to take some out because we need that freezer room. But anyway, my point is freeze all the water. Refill old bottles of water. Put it in the freezer. Now you have frozen water ready to go whenever you want and or need it. You can stick the bottle of water in warm water in order to melt the water or the ice faster. Also in freezing water, I do want to mention snow. If you live in a very snowy place like I do, you can always take snow and melt it, sanitize, purify, whatever you want after that. Snow is a great resource for having water in wintertime. All right, the last one I want to talk about is community water sources. Community water sources such as pools, lakes, rivers, those types of options that are available for you that might be nearby-ish. When it comes to community water sources, we have to think of a couple things. One, how are you going to access it? How are you going to bring it back, haul it back? And also security needs, right? So how are you going to keep this under wraps that you're doing this so that other people in a sort of crisis situation aren't seeing you haul all this water and be like, what are you doing? Where are you taking that? I want that water, right? Also, this is where the water purification and filtration systems will be coming in as well if you are going to be getting water from swimming pools or things like that. Now, community water sources are great in a lot of places. They are not available in a ton of places, but you could also get your own little above ground swimming pool, fill it up, cover it, make sure that it's sanitized year round, all that kind of stuff, so that it doesn't get yucky and gross from the constant sun beating on it, right? In saying community water sources, a silcock key is also a really good resource to have. If you can go to public buildings and you can use the silcock key, I'm showing some things here on the screen. You can use the silcock key in urban situations to get water from outside of buildings. This is only to be used in an emergency situation, not for every day, okay? So emergency situations for the silcock key only. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that this was educational. Water is one of the, I think, hardest ways to store water. I talk about it a lot and people always want to fight me that it's not hard, but we consume so much water, just an enormous amount of water. Not only do we consume it, but we use it for cleaning. We use it for, washing dishes and clothes and, ourselves, and we use water. If you can reduce your water usage in whatever way possible by taking, by getting waterless soap, by, taking, sponge baths, by using local, water sources for just cleaning dishes, things like that, or maybe using paper dishes for short term, like paper plates and disposable items for short term, so you're not having to use water to wash dishes, these kinds of things. Learn to conserve water and for short term periods, and for longer term periods, we hold water for a long time. And let me tell you, you learn how to conserve water real quick, because you don't want to have to go out, hauling water every single day, because you're just like wasting hundreds and hundreds of gallons a day. And not wasting necessarily, but using for, the purposes that you want to use it for laundry, for, dishes, for, drinking, for eating, cooking, all these things the water is used for. Water is literally life. Boiling water is one of the easiest and least technologically advanced methods to sanitize water. So you want some sort of pre-filter, which is a cotton bandana or something that's cotton and that's been pre-washed. Look at everything that I'm catching. This is going to catch bigger stuff, right? So you don't want that hanging out in your water. You can also filter it afterwards, but I like to have it filtered before. You can filter it before and after. Anyway, then we are going to take it and we are going to boil it. I am using my gas stove as an example, but of course you can boil water over just about any fuel source. Look at this bandana. Look at the gunk that it already got just from pre-filtering. This is just a part of it, and then you can filter afterwards if you wanted to as well. All right, once it reaches this rolling boil, then you're going to let it boil for 1 minute. And if you're in a higher elevation, let it boil for 3 minutes. You don't need to let it boil for longer than that. You need to let it boil for the 1 minute or the 3 minutes. The longer you let it boil past those, even just 3 minutes, then all that's happening is your water is evaporating. So do what you feel is best. If you want to boil it for 10 minutes, be my guest. But it's going to be best if you let it have a rolling boil for a solid minute. This will kill most things that boiling water will kill, and then it will be ready to use and consume in whatever capacity that you need to. Boiling water is great, and after this, if you feel like it still needs something else, like a tablet or bleach or something else, be my guest. Please do more water purification if you would like. And again, filter with that cotton filter or whatever. But at this point, we're ready to go. Are you struggling to figure out how to rotate your water supply? Well, you have come to the right video. Here we go. Hi everyone, Morgan here. Now, when you use your water, make sure to get a new supply. Rotating is not a bad word. It's not bad. Nothing's wrong with it. You're not wasting money, okay? You're using your water maybe every 6 months to a year or something like that, whatever you're comfortable with. And you are replacing it with something new. This is something you should be doing anyway. So the first one is, if you are going to be making some rice or pasta, go ahead and just pour those bottles of water right in there for that water, for the water needs for that pasta butter. Water your household's plants. Just give it a good old water there. Whee! Or hydroponics if you have it. Fill pet bowls. We don't have our doggies anymore, but if you do, pets can definitely drink it. Personally, we like to use water bottles with our electrolyte drinks because I don't like putting the electrolyte drinks or anything other than water in our hydro flasks. So we use bottles of water, and then after we're done using the bottle of water with this, we will fill it up with filtered water from our fridge, and then we will either put it back in the fridge to reuse, or we'll just throw this right here in the freezer for frozen water. Boom! Take your water supply and practice using it for drills, right? So why don't you take a day and just use just your bottled water or whatever water supply you have and use it for cooking, hygiene, cleaning, drinking, all those needs, and see how much water you use. It's going to be a really good exercise. You could even extend it for like a 3-day period or something like that, but try it just for a day. See how much water you use. Use it for your coffee maker. Oh yeah. Freeze it. Just straight up freeze it. Okay. Even if, if you have a bunch of water that you feel is coming to an expiration, just take it and literally just throw it in your freezer. It's going to make your freezer more efficient, and you're gonna have that water ready to go. You can also use the frozen water as like ice packs, just various ways. So just go ahead and just freeze your bottled waters. If you have waters in containers like this, I know I'm really strong. Okay, I'm just kidding, it's empty. Oof, I almost had you for a minute, didn't I? If you have waters in containers like this, you can use this for like brushing your teeth, you know, other hygiene needs, making your own cleaning supplies, whatever you need for water, basically. So if you want to just run through one of these containers, just go ahead and set it up on a counter and just run through it. Just, you know, drink it. Just pop open this little cap, put it to your lips, drink. Glug, 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 glug. It's okay, just drink the bottled water. You know what we like to do? We like to take it on trips. We like to grab a bunch of bottled waters, throw it in our vehicle if we're gonna go to like our kids' swim meets, or we're gonna go to the park, or we're gonna go for a hike, and just throw it in the car and we use it. We use it, okay? If you wanna just throw like a few bottles in there, put it under your seat and have it there for like a week, drink it, use it, refill your bottles of waters and just use it. Your rainwater can be used for a lot of the same purposes, for watering your garden, for giving it to your animals or livestock, for using for cleaning or for hygiene. You can also consume it, okay? Just if you want to purify it first, do that. Filter and purify and then consume it or use it for cooking needs. By the way, my banana plants have taken off with this recent rain. Whoa, look at it go. Beautiful. So there you have it. Was that 10? Was that more? I don't know. But there are some ways that you can easily rotate your water, whether it's in bottles like this, the gallons, the containers, the rainwater, whatever water you are storing, you can easily rotate with the ways that I've mentioned, plus so many others. This is the first ever portable reverse osmosis system that is also lightweight. This is a legit reverse osmosis system that actually filters 99.999% of viruses. It tastes so clean. It can remove substances that have been dissolved in water, like soapy water, coffee, sweat, urine, and so on. It's a true reverse osmosis system. It has a built-in battery and pump, so it's all in one system. That built-in battery can purify 27 liters of water at a time. And it's convenient to charge. It takes about 3.5 hours to fully charge. You can charge it with just a regular wall outlet, a power bank, solar panel, lots of different ways to charge this thing. It purifies bacteria, viruses between 0.02 to 0.03 UM, parasites, heavy metals, limescale, fluoride, all these things. And it's also tested and certified to actually purify these things out. Of course, the only thing this will not purify, which the majority, if not, 99.99% of filters do not do, is seawater. However, it will do pretty much everything else. It weighs just 13 pounds. The filters themselves, the RO filter can filter up to 550 gallons before it should be changed. And the hybrid filter has about 350 gallons before it needs to be changed. So you will want to buy extra filters. The filters themselves should last quite a while without being used. This is the drinking water. This is the excess water. So you have your drinking water, which will go into whatever surface, and then this is just kind of excess. So on first use, you want to make sure that you're letting this run about 10 minutes before drinking any of the water, consuming any of the water. That's pretty standard with a lot of filters. You want to give it like a good few pumps, discard the water, and then use it. So we're just letting this go for about 10 minutes or so. I'll drink some. Like, feel the water.
Not yet cold.
It's not that cold. Oh, little Miss Tough Girl over here. Not that cold. It's not that cold. The non-potable will run first, and then the drinking water will come in a second. There it goes. So that's completely normal. Non-potable will be pushed out first, and then they'll both run at the same time, non-potable and potable. Okay, time to drink it. It's like drinking out of a hose. tastes really good. It tastes amazing. This tastes like super clean water. Like, I've tasted some filtered water that you kind of can taste that filtered water sometimes. I mean, this is a reverse osmosis system, and that's what it should be doing. It should be cleaning it to where it's just like super clean. Oh, it's so good. Oh my gosh. And the lake water is like kind of cold, so it's like cold, refreshing water. This thing is amazing. It's super portable, lightweight. I mean, I can carry this down with ease. My 6-year-old kid was carrying it a little bit ago. Let's go ahead and turn it off. So you can turn it on, turn it off, and there you go. What you want to do when you're done is go ahead and I'm going to do this at home, but I'm going to go ahead and take it out. I'm going to clean it out, empty it out, let it drain, take the filters out, let it drain, let the water drain out from the inside, take these out, let them completely dry, and then, like I would any other water purification system. But there we go. If you've been prepping for any amount of time, you've probably heard you can just prep 1 gallon of water per person per day. I'm going to prove how wrong or right that is. I don't know. Let's see. Come along on the ride with me. So what I am doing is I am surviving off of just 1 gallon for the one day. Come along with me. Right now, I am doing my coffee that I normally do every single morning. Regardless whether I made this coffee or whether I drunk it, it was going to get drunk, right? Now, I actually had my water filled from the other day. As you can see how much water I've already used on just this one coffee. Now, this is a large coffee, okay? It's not like a small coffee. And then I poured the rest back. Lots of conservation here, okay? But I had my water filled from last night, so it's already full, luckily, right? But this is my water that I drink from all day, every day. So here we are, drinking the water that was filled from last night. So good. So with this water gallon challenge, I'm literally just doing me and my needs, not my kids, not my chickens. I'm not going to be taking a shower or anything like that. But here we are, we're still at the coffee. I just finished my coffee and I'm focused on just drinking water the rest of the day. Well, I just changed out the chicken water and I'm going to get their eggs later too. So I'm going to wash my hands now with this. I'm going to show you. So we used to do this back at the cabin when we had a dry cabin. So I did the soap first. You just kind of rub it in a little bit. And then you take the water and you splash a little bit on. I mean, like a little bit more, And then you rub. So now you're getting it all soapy. And now we need to rinse. There are soapless waters that you can use for washing your hand. You can also use hand sanitizer, but when it comes to poop and stuff like that, I'm gonna wash my hands, okay? But for a lot of other things, I can use hand sanitizer. But here we are, and set this down. I also am gonna use a little bit of water to rinse out my coffee cup. Just rinse it at this point, it's probably enough. So you can see I'm very much conserving water here. 10:30. All right, so this is the first official fill of my water. It is empty. So I'm going to fill it with the water. There we go. Look through, not the lens. And that's how much it drained it. Now, of course, this is a big one, right? So it's going to take a lot of water. You think that I'm going to conserve my drinking water? No, I will never conserve drinking water. I will conserve water in every other way except drinking water. I will never conserve drinking water. That's just the most important part. But if we're talking about water for all of our needs, cooking, hygiene, cleaning, and drinking, you think this is going to last the rest of the day? I don't know. Let's see. So dishes are part of it, and I had to cut something with this knife. So what I did is I actually just brushed it with that. And now I'm going to just as gentle as you can, because water is supposed to be for rinsing as well. Now, in scenarios like this where you're conserving water greatly, you may want to consider using paper plates and disposable silverware and stuff like that. But knives and things, if you have to cut something, you got to cut something, But that's it. I didn't take a ton. I am also not using this water to like refill the back of my toilet and stuff. If this is all the water I had, no way am I wasting such precious resource on filling my toilet. I'd be going in a bucket or, you know, composting toilet or something like that. And we have those other resources, but 2 o'clock. I've emptied my water. Now, whoop, I want to take the cap off. There we go. And fill. Oh, there's just a little tiny bit left. It's only 2 o'clock. I'll repeat, drinking should never be rationed. If you're going to ration anything, change the way that you eat so that you're not cooking with water, that you're not taking showers or excessive use of water. But drinking water should never, ever, ever be compromised. For cleaning, you can use paper towels or baby wipes, or even like you can make your own sanitizing wipes and things like that. 6 o'clock. Dinner is being made, but I'm trying to reduce the water that I use with it, so I'll show you what I'm gonna do. Normally I'd be cooking like rice or pasta or something like that, and I can because I have like chicken stock and I can do that. I actually have leftovers. There's about a cup left. Maybe 2, maybe a cup and a half, something like that, anywhere between 1 and 2. But I still, you know, this is almost out. So I would have no more drinking water for the rest of the day until tomorrow, unless I wanted to open up another gallon of water. But if I'm only rationing 1 gallon a day, it's 6 p.m., getting real close here, okay? I still have plenty of drinking done, especially because I'm about to eat dinner, and you really have to consume something to drink while you eat. Well, we're about to eat, and there's just like a little tiny bit left. So I'm gonna go ahead and just fill it with whatever is in here. That's it. I didn't even get a whole nother thing. I just think that this was a big eye-opener for me, as well as I hope it was a big eye-opener for you about how much we use water. And, you know, I went through this whole gallon basically just drinking it. Like I used a tiny bit to wash my hands. I used, I don't know, like an insignificant amount. But I still want to brush my teeth. You know, I still want some water to brush my teeth. Just use my saliva, I guess. Anyway, I hope this was interesting, at least to give you an idea that if you haven't done a challenge like this, in which you're not just running to the faucet to get water, you know, for whatever your needs are, that this helps open your eyes a little bit, that 1 gallon a day per person isn't enough. Again, I didn't use this for my kids. I didn't use this for my chickens. I didn't use this for my indoor garden over there. I didn't use it for my dogs. This was just for me. And I didn't really use it for cooking. I didn't use it for, you know, other hygiene, mostly cleaning, things like that. I didn't use it for this stuff. It was basically a gallon for drinking. I have links down below to help you get better prepared. I also have water preparedness, a whole ebook, and a bunch of other things that you can do for my membership at my website, just $7 a month. And you get a whole bunch of content each month. And I have one for October that was specifically for storing water and water purification. So the first thing that you should be doing is store what you can through bottled water. Bottled water is already purified. It is already ready to go, right? It is bottled, purified, it's ready. So all you have to do is just buy it and store it. And you may think that you're wasting money on bottled water, but that's water that you don't have to purify. It's water you don't have to bottle. It's water you don't even have to think about for years. As long as you keep it out of direct sunlight, you can have it in warm places. You know, just keep it out of that direct sunlight. And if you feel uncomfortable with this, you can rotate more often, rotate the water, you know, just use it the way that you would use, you know, water in your everyday setting. You know, give it to your plants, give it to your animals, you know, use it in hygiene or cleaning, you know, whatever. There's lots of ways to use water. Today we are going to be sanitizing water with activated charcoal. So we're going to be doing it 2 different ways. One way in which you would more kind of do it at home for a bugging in sort of purification. And the other one is going to be more of kind of like out in the field. You could also do that one at home too. Either of these you can do in any situation. Okay, so first of all, this is really dirty water. I have created this dirty water so that we could kind of see if there are any differences and what kind of differences there are. Now, this is, you can use any type of pre-filter. I'm using a baby schmog right now, basically. So it's getting rid of all of the big sediment, see? And then the dirt is at the bottom. You know, we don't want that. So now that that is good, now we just have dirty water. So we want to see how this is going to clean it. All right, so this is activated carbon. Activated carbon is activated charcoal. They just call it activated carbon. You can find bags of it at like pet stores, Walmart, in like the pet section. What you want to do is you want to soak it for like about 15 minutes or so. Just give it a good soak. Okay, so the very first one that we have here is just a real simple. We have a mason jar, a coffee filter, and then I'm actually going to put a filter here, and I'm going to put the activated carbon or the activated charcoal right there, and then I'm going to put this on top, and then so we have a couple filters here, and we want it to kind of drip a little slower. We don't want it so fast, but it is going to drip a little fast. The slower that the water drips through the activated carbon, the better, but it's okay if it drips through kind of fast. All right, so it's been 15 minutes. I've let it soak. I'm going to put the activated carbon. I keep calling it activated carbon. It's activated charcoal. It's just called that. Into there. It's got kind of the double filter going on. So now I'm just going to put this on up here. And I'm going to put a rubber band so that it doesn't like fall in, and then we're going to pour it. So before I get started, you may want to boil this first because activated charcoal won't get rid of everything, and boiling won't either, to be quite honest. If you were to just do like straight rainwater collection into the activated carbon, that would work, okay? If you wanted to do like, you have a free-flowing stream down by your place, but you just want to give it a good purification through some activated carbon, that works as well. So we're going to see kind of what this does, just this process. Boiling water wouldn't make it clear anyway. It just kind of gets rid of some particles. And sometimes even brown water is okay as long as it's been kind of purified in some way. But this is, needs to be fixed. So we're just going to go slow. As you can see, it's coming down. It's kind of a big difference, isn't it? What I would do is I'd probably just run this through maybe 1 or 2 more times. Okay, let's go ahead and see if pouring it in again will make it a little clearer. As you can see, the water's kind of coming down off the sides too. This could be improved, this process. So it is still dripping a little bit, dripping through. So as you can see here, there's still a lot of water that's still dripping through. That's good. Let it drip, okay? You want it to drip like that. There might be a big chunk that comes through, but as you can see, it's still coming through. That's exactly what you want. All right, so it's definitely, from start, okay, to finish, definitely a lot clearer, okay? Let's go ahead and do the sand and rocks. So I have this receptacle here. This is a very standard receptacle. You're gonna see this through mini DIYs, okay? What we have here is we have a bottle, we have one hole down here. This is a coffee filter, and then this is I forgot to mention, I'm not sure if I mentioned what this is. This is just cheesecloth that I've been using, okay? Cheesecloth down there, you can stuff cotton balls, you know, kind of whatever, but cheesecloth is accessible. You can also do a bandana, your shirt, okay, anything like that. So what you're gonna do is what you could actually do if you don't want sand or rocks, you could just fill this entire thing with activated charcoal and then just pour the water in. And then you have a lot larger layer of activated carbon that it's going through. So you can do that, absolutely. And it'll probably make it a lot clearer, a lot faster, okay? So you can just do this, right? With a whole bunch of activated carbon. But I'm gonna go ahead and do the sand and rock method as well, because that one's a very popular method. All right, look at those beautiful layers. We have our couple filters here, and then we have our activated charcoal, our sand, rocks, activated charcoal, sand, rocks. Beauty, okay? So we're gonna take that icky water that we had before, and we're gonna pour that through and just see how it goes. Mosquitoes all in my face. So this is a slow process, as it should be. It should be a slow drip process through here, but you know, it's dripping through. There you go. It's dripping through, and it looks like nice clear water so far. So this method definitely works. And we have the sand and the rocks and the activated carbon, you know, all right here at home. So, you know, and this just takes a bottle and a couple little filters and you're good to go. And the activated charcoal was about $8, and I got this much, plus I still have a whole other bag of this size, and it doesn't take a lot, and you don't have to continually switch out the activated carbon. Like I can continue using this activated carbon for many uses. So this is obviously way clearer than the little bit of water from just the activated carbon. And like I said, with just the activated carbon, you could continue to pour the water through and it will get clearer and clearer. Now this has a little bit of sediment in it, as you can see. So I would just pour this over, you know, a bandana or a shemagh or whatever, just to get rid of that big sediment there. But otherwise, this is ready to drink. And I am still letting it process down a little bit in another container here, but it does take a while, you know, and you definitely want to make sure, you know, the layers could also be probably a little smaller, you know, 1/2 inch to 1 inch is probably best, but I just kind of threw a bunch in there. But it's still working just great. Anyway, I don't think either of these are difficult methods. You know, I think that you know, if you're using just the activated charcoal, you may want to, oh my gosh, mosquitoes got my forehead like hardcore. Mosquito spray everywhere except on my face. Anyway, so with just the activated charcoal, you may want to boil it first and then put it through the activated charcoal, and you may want to put it through the activated charcoal a couple times, and that's okay. You know, this is basically a homemade water filtration system. And then, you know, of course, with this method, this is going to take longer, but, you know, you want to have a sufficient amount of water for it to be going through, and you may want to have a sufficient amount of time. This is why I always recommend having a tiered system of water purification. Like this, you know, the activated charcoal method could be like a backup to you. And before then you have, you know, boiling and, you know, a pump water filter or something. So when we're talking about water filtration and water purification, we do have to keep one very specific thing in mind. And more specifically, when we are looking for water sources and then purifying those water sources, we have to be realistic about what the filter specifically is going to do. What is the filter going to filter out, essentially? What is it going to purify, okay? There is a big difference between filtering out, you know, some sediments and some, you know, just kind of some bacteria and stuff. And then there are many filters and water purification commercially made items that won't filter out like chemicals and things like that. So we have to be really, really aware of, first of all, what our filter can do for us. What is our filter actually going to do? Is it going to filter out chemicals? A lot of filters actually don't. Is it going to just filter out some bacteria and viruses and things like that? Then like a stream like this, where I know the source is from mountains and it's also from a larger river, generally, you know, I know the source of this. So if you don't know the source of the water, you have to be extremely cautious, because even if your water does still come out clear, there could still be chemicals, other bacteria, viruses, things that we simply can't see in our water. So we have to be very, very, very careful with, one, the actual knowing what our filter will filter out, and two, the actual source of the water. Do you feel confident in the source of the water, that it's not from any sort of pollutants? You know, there aren't things in this water that your filter won't filter out. Anyway, just a couple things to keep in mind about water purification. Take a hard look at what your filter realistically filters out, and be aware of the source of the water that you're filtering.
Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Just kidding. Me and the kids here. Me is Morgan. Welcome to Road Preparedness. It's time to melt some snow. Did you know that you must keep lighters in your pockets close to warmth in order for them to work? Now you know. Okay, it is time to scoopity scoop into the Dutch oven. Bloop, 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 scoopity scoop. You enjoy my sounds? Okay. All right, then you pat it down good. You want to make sure you get as much as possible, because this will reduce to about half. Get that snow in there. Get the snow in there. But then also get the wood in there to start the fire in order to melt the snow. I love this rocket stove. It's by EcoZoom. BioLite. Love it. Okay. There we go. Sure, pack it in. You like get the back? Yeah, exactly, just like that.
I want to do that.
Okay.
Emma. Can you head around?
Yeah, good idea, Ember. Good job. No. Almost done. It's -2 right now. The sun rose 30. Interrupting rooster. The sun rose about 30 minutes ago, but we're good. We got all of our snow stuff on. It's all about the layers, and that's going to come in this future video. Yeah, what do you want to say?
Okay, since you didn't get a block of lava on, so it's basically just cool.
To get it melted, I'll show you. To get it melted, I'll have to show you close. Just to get it melted, it took about 45 minutes. So this is a reality check for a lot of people that are like, I'm just going to melt snow. That's great. You know, build like a really big fire, get a rocket stove or a solo stove or whatever you got to do to build a fire, and then melt it. But it's going to take time. And this is just in a Dutch oven. If you, get like a big pot and you get it out here and you try to do like a bunch of water at one time, that's great. It's going to take a little bit longer, just because it's going to be more mass and it's going to be bigger and stuff like that. But, just plan accordingly, basically. Trying to warm my face up. While there's so much in the world that we can't control, I want you to focus on getting out there and controlling what you can control, like getting out and doing the skills. If this isn't relevant to you, you don't have snow in your area, great. Go find your local water sources. Go find a way to make a rain collection system. Go find ways to store water. Figure it out, okay? And go use your skills. If anything, I want you to just go outside and make a fire, okay? And that'll come next in the series. That's why I'm doing this series, so that you can open your mind and figure out, how can I increase my skills? Not only that, but practice existing skills. I just stuck my finger in it.
Took my glove off and stuck my finger in it. It's getting hot. It's getting very, very hot. It's like so close. You can even see the bubbles at the bottom. It's very, very close. I can't have the camera out recording my every move like on a tripod or whatever. When I'm not recording, it's in my pocket next to my body because in these negative temps or just below freezing, the batteries just, they drain. And I've even had my phone like just start seizing up. It's the same with extreme heat too, you know. Extreme heat not good, extreme cold not good. All right, there it is, folks. An hour and 10 minutes later, it's boiled. It's boiling. It's really hard to tell because of all the steam, the hot coming into the cold, but it is boiling. Can you see it at all? Oh my gosh, it's just boiling hot. Look at that. That's wild. But yeah, it's definitely boiled. There it is. I can see. Well, okay, it was. It got cold fast. Hey everyone, Morgan here. So I just wanted to do a very quick video about collecting rainwater. It started raining really hard yesterday, and it's been raining kind of off and on. Looks like it's about to start raining again soon. When I did my last camping video, it rained and everybody was like, collect that rainwater. And yes, I would have totally collected it if I was there for a longer period of time. Water falling from the sky is a great viable resource, but there's just a few things that we have to keep in mind. First of all, making your own water collection container is great. This is made out of a trash can essentially, and we did this was actually done during my first 365 video series. Super easy. So the nice thing with this is that it has this little spigot attached to it, and I can just open her up. And as you can see, a little bit of brownish came out at first. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But if you don't have like the resources for your own water collection bucket like this, or something bigger, smaller, you know, whatever the case may be, if you don't have the space, the resources, whatever, you know, you live in an apartment, you can't do something like that. If it is an emergency or disaster situation of some sort, you know, just collect rainwater with any sort of containers that you have. You can put it on the ground, and as you can see, I actually collected this rainwater yesterday, last night when it was raining really hard. As you can see, there is a little bit of dirt in it. Again, I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Yes. Any container, and I let the chickens drink out of the water. They love it. Yeah, see? Any container. It really doesn't matter. You know, it might have debris in it. If you have a table, you can put it on the table. That doesn't necessarily mean it'll be cleaner. So, in saying all this, we should assume that rainwater is like the cleanest water ever, right? But collecting it in containers, especially if you're like collecting it in a tarp situation where you hang a tarp and it collects in the center and then it kind of drips down below, or whatever you know, setup that you have, collecting rainwater is a great viable source, but we still want to be safe with the water that is collected by sanitizing it. Boiling and filtering, filter and boil, whatever you want to do, or some kind of purification sanitization method, just to make sure that it is the best water that you can possibly get. Again, you know, with it sitting outside, you know, debris could come into it, or, you know, whatever could happen. So I would always just make sure to sanitize your water, even if it falls from the sky. All right, I just transferred all of the rainwater from here into here, and I'm going to boil this. Okay, it's at a rolling boil, and I'm letting it sit there for about a minute. So I'm going to let it sit there. Okay, turn this off, and take it off a little bit here, and then we're just gonna put it in here. I'm gonna do it this way because I don't want water literally splashing all over the place. So. put too much. It's all right. All right, this water looks really, really good. Okay, so now we're gonna seal it, but this isn't even like close to boiling. It's this that takes the longest to boil every time you're canning anything. Hallelujah, it's ready. All right, so we're just gonna put them in here. Probably just gonna put these small ones in for now. Because I don't want the, well, if I have room. Clunk it around with each other. I'm gonna have this going probably for about 15 to 20 minutes. All right, it's ready to pull, and they're already popping. Pop. That's good. It's good. And voila! You just wait till they all pop. This one's, yeah, you just wait till they all pop and you're done. And I just wanted to quickly talk about purifying water from a pool. The couple things that we have to keep in mind is the FDA says that it's okay to drink chlorinated water. It's like a 4 ppms. I'm gonna put exact numbers here on the screen. But there's a few things that we have to keep in mind. You know, you have ingested, I think if you've ever swam in water, you have ingested chlorinated water at some point, right? And we all have, especially as kids, okay? There's a lot of ways to distill water. A really easy way is kind of like how you would desalinate salt water. You basically just use a pot, and you would take the lid and like there's a little bowl, or yeah, a little bowl inside, and then with the condensation as it comes up, it drips down into the bowl, and there you go. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but you can do it with a couple bottles of water. There's just so, empty plastic bottles of water. There's a lot of different ways to do it. You can make like a legit distillation whole setup. A lot of people have. There's a lot of DIYs online. Anyway, or you can try to use like a Berkey, or you could boil it, and that kind of stuff will remove some of it. It may just remove like taste, stuff like that. Or you can take the chance and just drink it straight. And it depends on how much you're wanting to drink. If you just need, if you just come to like the water and you're just like, I just need a real quick drink, right? Then that would probably be okay. Take a couple drinks and then figure out a way to make it more drinkable. We have to keep in mind that when we're thinking about using pool water to drink in an emergency, disaster, SHTF situation, the amount of chlorine or chemicals in general that are in here, the only way you would know is if this was your pool, as if you did it yourself, right? If you're coming across somebody else's pool or something, maybe it's starting to produce algae and stuff. Well, that's because the sun has actually started to, get rid of the chemicals, and now, it's starting to grow the algae and all these things. The sun will actually basically not purify it, but it will take away the chemicals if you're not consistently putting chemicals in the pool. That's why when you leave a pool, not clean for a while, it starts to create that bacteria and stuff and the algae, and it starts to get really gross, and then you got to clean it, and it's a whole big process. So that's why keeping up with your pool maintenance is really important. But if you're stumbling across somebody else's pool and you don't know what it was maintained with, purifying it first is going to be really important, I think. But, again, if you're just coming to the water and you're like, I got to get a drink, and you take a couple swigs, you're fine. It's more of mass consumption of the chemicals that you really want to stay away from, and you really want to find a way to purify it, sanitize it in some way, even if it is with something like a life straw, that's going to be better than nothing. Okay. Now you don't want a better than nothing situation. If your plan is to purify swimming pool water, then you do want to know how to distill it. Okay. How to actually distill it. That's going to be important. That's going to be the number one way. So, like if this is your pool, you should have some sort of like chemical tester or something you can dip in the water and see how the chemicals are. You have some sort of whole chemical system set up, something like that, that's distributing the chemicals. You do it yourself. Something is going on where you're distributing the chemicals. So you generally know how much chemicals are in there, right? So you would know how to distill it. Now, I do not advise going to neighbors' pools or anything like that, not unless you're cool with the neighbors. Now, in an SHTF situation, if the house is empty, everything's empty, the pool water would no longer have chemicals in it, but it may have, algae being, build up and a whole bunch of other things that are happening to this pool, which would make it unsafe to drink. So again, if you come across a body of water, such as a swimming pool, that is at the point of no return, basically you have to drain it, put new water in, chemicals and everything, where it looks like that situation, then you would definitely want to do the distillation process. So drinking from your swimming pool, and I would suggest your own swimming pool, because the swimming pool without chemicals and such will definitely start to deteriorate several days after the chemicals and stuff are stopped, basically, because if you want to stop deterioration, quick deterioration, a cover or something will definitely help, because the UV rays will deteriorate it over time, just over a couple days. But if you don't want to use this as a drinking source, you could use this as some sort of bathing source. Put it in a bucket and bathe yourself with it or something. That would definitely work. You don't have to use it as emergency drinking water. And again, just be safe about it. Use your neighbors that you've had permission. Use your own pool, right? In an urban situation, if you're having to, go peek in, backyards to go find a pool, well, most likely at that point, those pools would be really deteriorated to the point where it would be really difficult to access safe drinking water from it unless you were to distill it. And even then, it's real up in the air. So just be safe when it comes to, pool drinking water. That's pretty much it. Let me know if you guys have any questions, comments, anything else.
Hi everyone, Morgan here. So today I want to talk about how to be prepared for a drought, and most specifically how to have water available during times of drought. Now, any place can really experience times of drought, but of course, more specifically, even desert areas can be in a drought. And yes, you may be thinking, well, isn't the desert always in a drought? Actually, no. There are some times in which it's just totally lush and beautiful. This year in particular, we're in a drought, and I know that there's other places like in Utah that are being warned of, drought, and be prepared for it, okay? So I want to explain the best ways that you can be prepared for a drought. And of course, the first way is to stock up on bottled water from the store. Just get a case, some gallons of water, anything like that, and really stack it, okay? And when you stack it, just make sure to put a blanket or something over it to keep any sort of direct light, whether it's sunlight or light, any light, just keep the light away from it. But as long as it stays shut and closed and away from, that direct light, it should be good. I even store gallons of water in our vehicles, and it lasts quite a long time. In fact, it lasts, I've had it in there for 6+ months, and, I've opened it, tried it, and it's been perfectly fine. I keep it under the seats, or I keep it covered with blankets and that kind of thing to keep it out of that direct sunlight. So another way is rain collection. This is our rain collection barrel. We have a couple here, and we're always getting more, but you don't actually need to connect your rain barrel with gutters. I have a picture here of a trash can that we turned into a rain collection bucket without gutters. We just kept it, you know, outside, and we kept a mesh over top that kept debris and bugs out, as well as, you know, obviously keeping mosquitoes from breeding. But, you know, keep that mesh over top to where water can come in, but nothing else, right? And so, you know, we had a little spigot on the bottom, and we used that, and we never had gutters with it. It was always full. We were always having to use it. Loved that little trash can rain collection bucket. And of course, you know, be sure to sanitize any rainwater that you collect, or use it for your garden or animals or anything like that. Rainwater can basically be used for almost anything. I have a video that talks about how to use and consume rainwater safely down below in the in the description. And you don't even need like huge rain collection barrels like this. You can just do like 5-gallon buckets, or just like bigger buckets. Just put a mesh over it, like I said, you know, with the trash can, you know, just anything to collect rainwater. Anything, just make sure it has that mesh over it so that bugs or debris can't get in. And it's you know, letting that water in, but not letting bugs or anything else get in or breed or anything like that. The next one is going to be filling up containers of water. So these blue barrels are made to hold water. You can use this for rain collection, or you can use it to just fill up with water. When you do fill up containers, you know, whether it's jerry cans, these big 55-gallon drums, I mean, literally you could fill up almost anything, and then what you do is you just pre-treat it. So again, whether it's jerry cans or this 55-gallon drum, what you would do is you would fill it with water and then put bleach in it, however much bleach you would need to treat the water. So you would put, you know, like for like a 55-gallon drum, you would just add up however much bleach you would need to put in based on, you know, the calculations. I'm going to put a link down below for that. But, you know, so just put however much you bleach, seal it up, and there you go. And then when you want to use that water, you can treat it again if you want, filter, boil, you know, bleach it again, you know, whatever you feel most comfortable with, put it through your Berkey, whatever. So definitely water purification methods will be important with this as well. But, you know, collecting water in this, you know, filling up jugs and things like that, just make sure that if you do use any jugs that are used jugs, like a lot of people refill like juice bottles and things, make sure you really thoroughly clean those bottles, including the cap. Make sure you just really thoroughly clean it. And I would really advise against filling like milk jugs, because the milk, like the bacteria of the milk just stays in that plastic no matter how long you use it, or I'm sorry, no matter how much you clean it. So I would advise against using milk jugs, but anything else can almost be used. Just again, make sure you thoroughly clean it. And then the last method I'm going to talk about is conserving. I think everyone should be really aware of conserving water, you know, but especially in drought times, there's lots of things that we can do to conserve water, you know, just really basic stuff like turn off the water when you're not using it, like in between brushing your teeth or washing your hands or that kind of thing. You know, when you wash dishes, again, turn off the water when you're not using it. You know, use a more water-friendly dishwasher, or use a more water-friendly washing machine, that kind of thing. Like we have a washing machine that I can actually choose how much water it uses. And then you can use like smaller loads, but sometimes smaller loads may not be more efficient, just kind of depends. You know, take shorter showers. We actually have a shower in our RV in which we turn on and off. We don't let it just run. We actually turn the water on, we, you know, rinse, whatever, we turn it off, you know, we lather up, do whatever we got to do, then we turn it back on, and then rinse, turn it off, that kind of thing. I know all of this stuff kind of seems like a hassle, but conserving water in general should be kind of a priority for a lot of us. I think we sometimes kind of just mindlessly use water without kind of thinking about it, especially when it so freely flows from the faucets. But water is kind of a finite resource for us. And so, you know, no matter where you live, you know, you may have an abundance of water now wherever you live, but unfortunately that can change. You know, we're seeing changes happening all over the place. So
you know, just try to conserve water where you can, and, you know, stock up on that water, collect rainwater, you know, just do whatever you can to, you know, be prepared for that drought, especially if you're connected to the water system, you know, like if you don't have a well, but also wells can dry up. It happens. You know, even if you have a well, I would still suggest stocking up on water. But especially if you're connected to like a water system where they can just shut your water off at any time, especially if they're already warning you about a drought, definitely stock up on that water however you can. I have this silcock key, and we've been searching for a spot. Finally, we found one, and trying to be quick because there's like a security camera like right here. I think that's the one that fits, but oh, hey,
no.
There it is. Silcock key, it works.
Alright, I'm turning it back off.
So that's the whole point of a silcock key. The problem is we were having such a difficult time finding one of these. But, you know, as long as water is flowing and you have this silcock key, it's $8 at Home Depot. You can get water as long as the water is flowing still. That's going to be the problem too. So, but really good. Silcock key, $8. Get some. The first one is going to be freezing water. Whenever you use a water bottle, a juice bottle, soda bottle, make sure you clean them out really good inside and out with soap and water, and then refill it with tap water or any other clean water, and then just throw it right there in your freezer. Now shut it. Shut it. Shut it. Okay, if you're anything like me, your freezers are usually very full, but I do still try to make sure that we are freezing water because it's a really good, effective way to freeze water. Plus, when you freeze water, if your freezer were to ever turn off, you know, because of no electricity, or just turn off just because it's faulty or whatever, those frozen bottles of water will help keep everything else cooler inside for longer. You can fill up jugs like this of water, but it would not be consumable water. It would be something like for gray water, for cleaning dishes or laundry or something like that. So you can refill these kinds of things if you want, but only for gray water. The next one is really simple. Buy bottles of water. Bottles of waters are super simple to come by. They are fairly inexpensive. You can get them at, you know, places like Costco, or, you know, $1 from, you know, Walmart or whatever. And you could also refill these at any time, right? Just make sure that whatever you do, whenever you are refilling, you're always cleaning with soap and water. But bottles of water will last many years if kept out of direct sunlight, kept in cool, dark places. Even if you keep them in warm places, as long as it's kept out of direct sunlight, they could be good for a couple years. But just rotate your water often. You can also fill pretty much any like container with water, like 5-gallon buckets, or, you know, the water containers that you might get from Walmart. I'm showing some pictures here. Any of these containers. First, you wash the container, then you're going to put the water in, the clean water in, and then you can put a little bit of bleach depending on how big it is, and the chart that I have down below. And then put the bleach in, and then you're gonna seal it up. So when you open it, you know, in a year or so, you can rotate it and, you know, use it for your garden or whatever else. So any container, almost any container you can use, as long as, you know, it's kept out away from debris and it's clean water going in, and you do have lots of water purification like I've talked about before. The last is rainwater. So not a lot of people collect rainwater. This is just like containers that I have outside that we're just collecting rainwater. I don't have like an official system yet, but this is enough to like water some of my garden, you know, like it's layers of your water storage. You know, it's not everything is consumable. It's maybe this is just for my garden, but I can make this consumable by, I can filter and boil and then filter again. I can drop tablets in it. I can put it through my Berkey, you know, filter, then put it through my Berkey. I can do a lot of things to purify this water in order to make it drinkable or consumable, you know, using for food, you know, cooking food or whatever. But you could also just use it for bathing or cleaning dishes. You know, you may want to sanitize it for those kinds of things. Of course, having a legit rainwater collection system. I have a ton of videos about rainwater collection, but you don't have to get fancy all the time. You can just literally collect the rainwater in anything, buckets, you know, bowls, whatever. And trust me, no matter where you live, you can collect rain. Even in the low desert, it does rain. Not as often, but especially during monsoon season, you can collect a lot of water during that time. And then like high desert areas and things, you can collect, you know, it does rain a little bit more often. But so collect rainwater as much as you possibly can throughout the year. So those are the top 3 really easy, fairly cheap, inexpensive ways to start storing water today. You know, I've talked about hauling water and all this other stuff before, but these are really easy ways to start stocking up your water. Put them under your bed, put them on shelves, put them everywhere, stack them in your closets, just put water everywhere. Water is a resource that we do not ever want to waste, right? And we want plenty of it because we use a lot of it. And don't forget, if you have a water heater, that is however many gallons of water full of water ready to be used. All you have to do is drain it. And I have a video right here showing you how to do that. Hey everyone, Morgan here. So in today's video, I wanted to show you a viable source for water in your home. So your water heater can hold a variety of water, but ours in particular holds 40 gallons of water. That's an insane amount of water to just let sit here and not use if you're in an emergency or disaster situation where, you know, you have a water heater, you have all this water, but you're not going to access it. You want to learn how to actually access that water. This could be good, viable water for you to use in a variety of ways, even if it's just for hygiene purposes. This is good, viable water that you can take. So we have a gas water heater. I am going to talk to you about how to do it with an electrical water heater as well, but I'm going to show you the process of exactly, you know, our system, our gas system. So let's do it. So first of all, because we have gas, we want to shut off the gas valve, which is right back there. Okay. All right, I've shut it off. So I've shut off the gas. You don't have to shut it off outside. However, if you want to, go for it. However, that should be sufficient. For an electrical water heater, you just want to shut off the electrical breaker that goes to your water heater.
Find the cold water shutoff valve, which should be at the very top of your water heater, and turn it off.
All right, the hardest parts are done. Your gas is off or your electric, and you've shut off the cold water valve. Now, I'm going to hook this water hose to here. You gotta be kidding. This door. There's a valve right here, and you just want to turn it. So we have this little garden hose, but you know, you could use a regular garden hose if you want. We just had this little one. You know, you could use a bucket. You know, you can use a garbage can, whatever you want. The purpose is, you know, you're going to take this water out, and then I would highly suggest that you sanitize the water. Don't just use it, even for hygiene purposes. I would still sanitize the water, okay, before using. So here we go.
Once the valve is open, you'll want to open the pressure release valve, which will allow the water to flow.
And whenever you're done, just go ahead and push the valve back to where you had it. The water will stop. Bada boom, bada bing. But you see, when you get real close to the water, some of this may be from the bucket, some of this is from the water heater. You can see that you really want to get rid of all this stuff in here, okay? This is not ready until you filter and sanitize it. So, but it is viable water, absolutely. So while this is a fairly simple process, you need to do it. And actually, people should be draining their water heaters pretty regularly as just per maintenance of their water heater. So again, while this is like a fairly easy process to do, you may run into certain problems. Like when we were turning off the cold water, we realized that our valve was like stuck on this hose and we had to move the hose in order to get the valve. Okay, these are things that you want to find out long before an emergency or disaster. You know, how to actually shut off your valves, your electrical or your gas, you know, how to just do all these little processes. So again, this holds, 40 gallons. Some people may have smaller ones. It doesn't matter. This is good, viable water for you to use in an emergency or disaster, and generally for maintenance purposes to keep your water heater running good. I'm going to be showing you how to use water purification tablets. I think a lot of people are really confused, when they see, well, do I just use tablets, whatever. They're confused on like how to actually use it. So this is the actual water, sorry, there's mosquitoes everywhere. I put bug spray on, but man, they're just still swarming. Okay, so this is the water purification. This is the actual water purification. Now on the bottles, as well as on the back of the card, there are directions, but the directions are also on the bottle. Now, there's these you can get from Walmart, or I'm going to link down below to Amazon. But yeah, you can just get these at Walmart. They're $8 for these two. This one removes the iodine taste and color. So because this kind of gives a little bit of a taste sometimes, and I don't really care, but this helps get rid of that color and taste. Now, I have some Rainwater right here. I'm going to take one of these. I'm going to fill it. I have just a cotton cloth. Any type of cotton will do. Slowly pour it in, and it'll catch all the big particles. See, there's some big chunks that I just caught with that. So filtering the water first is pretty important. Okay, so now we have just water that is ready to be sanitized. So this says add 2 tablets. This is a brand new, so I'm going to be opening it. Add 2 tablets to 1 quart or 1 liter. So you're going to take the 2 tablets. This is what they look like, and then just put them in. Let it sit for 5 minutes. This actually says you should put on in a bottle with a cap. It doesn't matter that much, but usually you're just going to be shaking it. But instead of shaking it in 5 minutes, I'm just going to be stirring it, because this isn't a bottle that I can shake. So I have a little stir straw here in a second. All right, so now we're going to stir it up, or if it's in a bottle, you can shake it. Just give it a good stir. Once it's all stirred up or shaken up or whatever your system is, we're going to go ahead and let it sit for 30 minutes. All right, it's been 30 minutes, and at this point you want to drink it, you can. However, it also comes with these tablets that you must use after this. So you need, just basically follow the directions, but it says that you need to wait 3 minutes before drinking. But first of all, you have to wait until after the 30 minutes, the minimum of 30 minutes, and then you put these in. So if you put it in before the 30 minutes, it can actually be harmful. But you add these 2 tablets, and then you wait 3 minutes before drinking. All right, I just plopped them in there, and they seem to be taking effect. So wait 3 minutes before drinking. Okay, so it's probably been about 5 minutes here, and the tablets look to be gone as far as I can tell. Unless that's them at the bottom. I can't tell. Anyway, it's been 5 minutes. You can drink it after 3 minutes. Look, I left it outside, and I think a little debris got in there just from falling. Oh, come on. Anyway, so right now it kind of smells a little like just ever so slight of kind of like a pool, just like ever so slightly. Let's go ahead and do the taste test. I've always said I don't think the plus tablets take away that much taste and color, and they kind of really don't. but they take away a little bit. Like, it doesn't taste as iodine-y. It doesn't taste as bad. It still has a little bit of a kind of more like a stale water taste kind of thing, but it's not that big a deal. It really depends on the source of water too that you're taking it from and stuff like that. But it does get rid of bacteria from the water, and also takes away some of the color and, you know, kind of nasty taste of the purification tablets. That's what it's taking away from, not necessarily taking away the nasty taste of any water or the color from the existing water, but it's just taking the water away, or taking the flavor and taste away from those first iodine tablets. So anyway, that's how you do it. These are really nice to have for the home, or there's a mosquito on me, for the home, or you know, in your backpack. These have, I would say these have about a year or two shelf life, as long as they're kept in cool, dark conditions away from moisture. Moisture's really is what is going to take it away. I've opened these up after a year and they've been totally fine. So 1 or 2 years around there, just depending on how they're stored. These are great to have, pretty inexpensive. We'll do quite a bit of water with everything that you have here. I am going to be talking about how to actually flush out and then dry out a commercially produced water filter. The thing about water filters is you're purifying bad water through it, okay? So when you're putting that bad water through it, all this stuff gets gunked up in here. So you want to dry it out as best as you possibly can. You can do this last or first, but what I like to do is just kind of wipe the lines clean with some sort of soap and water on a rag, or Lysol wipes if they're available, right? So you just wipe that down to try to get all this stuff on the outside off. Okay, and you can see there's a lot of dirt and stuff, other stuff we can't see. So give the whole thing a good wipe down, you know, because it was around potentially contaminated water, right? Okay, so then I have a clean cup of water here, just a clean cup of water. First of all, what you could do is you could take maybe a drop or two of bleach and put it in some sort of cup like this, and then rinse it through, and then get a completely clean cup of water, no bleach or anything, rinse it through again. I would probably do that 2 more times because of the bleach. But you're gonna put the hose just down. If you have a system like this, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna talk about, you know, with any other type of system, like a water straw or anything like that, you just basically want to try to take it apart as best as you can. If you can't take it apart at all, just hang it out to dry somewhere. Just put it out in like the sun with some wind, you know, however, and just have it out like that and let it dry as best as you can for as long as you can. Keep it out for a few days, you know, don't even worry about it, but you have to make sure that it is completely dry. You know, push out, if you have one of those straws, push out all of the water from it as best as you can. Really, you know, push it out. And if you can, with the water straws as well, do kind of like this system, you know, drink through clean water, and in order to kind of flush it out a little bit. So you definitely want to always flush out your systems, especially when you're done using them and you're going to be putting them away for a little while. All right, so even with this little filter here that's on the end of that, I can try to blow the water through. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. It does take a lot of effort, okay, but it's pretty important to get as much excess water out as you can. All right, then just give it a good several shakes, really get that excess water out. This is basically how you would do it with a water straw or anything like that. Now with mine, I'm gonna go ahead and just see, so I can actually pump out the excess here. If you have any sort of pump system, this is what you wanna do. Try to get all that excess out. Take it apart as best you can. Wipe down everything. So here's another filter in here. So I'm gonna actually take this apart even more. There's another filter, several filters. I love this one. Okay, carbon filters, all this. So all these filters in here, see all that? That all has to be dried. Now you're taking it apart as best as you can. You're gonna lay it somewhere outside, inside, with hoses and stuff. You wanna try to lay kind of like this so that it kind of gets some good airflow and kind of drips out and that kind of thing. There you go, just let it dry for several days. You know, I mean, keep it out honestly for as long as possible. You know, there's no like time limit, like unless you have to put your stuff away right away or something, but just leave it out, let it completely dry. If you don't let it completely dry, it will mold and get all nasty, and then it's a useless water filter. And it can get gunked up real bad, especially if you don't flush it out like that with fresh water.
A stovetop distiller is one of the best ways to have ready purified water. And this is such a big one. It's a 5-gallon one. It is by Vivor, or Vivor, how do you want to say it? Vivor. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to fill this with water first. Hi everyone, Morgan here, and husband.
Hello.
He put all this together. Thank you, husband. Oh, and children are running around. Okay, so let's go ahead and fill this up with water. All right, so we're just gonna fill this up. This is a 5-gallon one. I really wanted this nice big one. They do have 3-gallon ones, and you can even DIY this setup. This whole setup was $89. We were gonna DIY a setup that basically used a teapot, and it had like coils and stuff, and kind of like this little system here. But it was, you know, it held such a small amount of water. It was like a normal teapot. You're getting the evaporation. So what we're doing now is that this is hooked up into here, and we're gonna see how much we are gonna get from this 5 gallons. For those that don't know, we are on a well, and our well is very high in iron. Right now we have a whole house water softener. But if that ever goes out, you know, that takes out the iron. But if that ever goes out, we're gonna need some way. Like we can have a manual pump or something to get that water out. But then after that, we still need some way to clean out that iron. Distilling is gonna be the best way for that for us. And having this stovetop method, we can do it over coals, we can do it over propane, we can do it over electric, whatever is available to us. So the stovetop distiller is an ideal option for distilling. All right, so we're gonna put a little bit of cold water up here on top in the coils. And that's pretty much it. I've locked the lid. I've turned on the element, and now we just wait for this to come to a complete boil. Our water is very, very cold. It's very cold well water.
It's like 39 to 30 degrees on
Yeah,
average.
so it's going to take a minute to heat up this 5 gallons here. It has taken almost an hour to get to this almost boiling point. It's 200 degrees right now. I love this temp. Ah, it's happening! Like a second after I turned it off. Yeah! Wow! That's happening so fast. Look at it. Look at the water. Look at it. Very exciting when something works. It's like we've been let down so much in our life or something. No. It's awesome. I think one of the most ideal things you could do here is actually just put the tubing in used water containers and things like that. So use gallons of water and then fill up the used gallons of water with that water and switch it out, etc. But
The colder the water, the faster the steam will condensate in these coils to deliver out the distilled water.
so this is an out and this is an in. So ideally what you really want to do, instead of just emptying it and putting new cold water or whatever, is just trying to have some sort of cycling system in which it just constantly keeps it cool. Yeah, a little radiator coolant. That's the dream. You know, snow in this case would be really handy. This right here, the fact that we know that we're gonna have to keep this cool some way, whether it's with ice or an external coolant. We found one for like 20 bucks. Something that can continually cycle and keep this cool is something that is essential to this distilling process. Because without it, it's literally just, it's not producing and it's just creating steam. Nothing is coming out at this point. And you know, because that water is now getting so hot, it's just kind of like trickling and just creating steam. Like I shouldn't be seeing those bubbles, okay? I should just not be seeing those bubbles. It should just be having a flow of water. So despite knowing this, that doesn't deter me from this at all. There are solutions to keep this cool and ones that we're gonna have to know in order to sufficiently run this if we ever did need distilled water. Now, in the hour and a half that I've run this, it took an hour to actually get it boiled.
And then after half an hour, we got to almost 2 liters. Yeah, I'd say we're probably at a liter right now. It's like half. So we're probably at a liter right now, but it took about 30 minutes. And that's with just having to constantly cycle this and make it cooler. If you had a cycling system with this cycling the water out into your cooling system, and then it cycled back up with like probably a little pump, and we have solar generators and things like that that will be able to run that type of setup, distill all this water, and then you'll have like 5 gallons. You could do that like, you know, once a day, right? Or something like that. We also have snow that we can melt outside, that kind of thing. So we could do that in the interim. And snow, I would basically just be pre-filtering, boiling before consuming. But anything coming out of our well, we would be using this. So I'm going to have a future video coming up where I'm going to be showing you our DIY well pump. So excited about that. I really do highly recommend this. You know, like I said, we tried the DIY method with the tiny little, the tiny little teapot. And with all the supplies and everything, it was actually coming out to about $100. And this is 89 bucks. And it's got everything you need. And it's 5 gallons worth of water that you could distill-ish, you know. Food and water are the top 2 things that every pepper needs, okay? Actually needs. Sure, we need to breathe, right? But food and water are something we need. So let's go ahead and avoid these water mistakes, and later I'll be talking about food storage mistakes. Hey everyone, Morgan here. Let's go ahead and dive into number 1 water mistake is using the wrong containers. So there's a lot of information out there when it comes to using and refilling containers of water for certain things. Now, many people are making the mistake of using non-food grade containers for storing water for potable purposes. They fill milk jugs, which unfortunately, the milk, even if you clean the milk jugs as much as you possibly can, that bacteria from the milk actually can stay in the plastic. So it can contaminate your water over time. I never ever recommend storing potable water, or what you want to be potable water, in things like milk jugs, laundry jugs, things like that. Now, if you want to store it for non-potable purposes, that's great. More power to you. Do it, right? But if it's for potable purposes, you really want to stick with food grade material that is made for food, which is also obviously designed for water. Plastic or glass, food grade plastic or glass. Next one is storing in direct sunlight. So a lot of people say, storing in the warmth is just as bad as storing it in sunlight. This is incorrect. Storing it in sunlight is what is going to get you in trouble. Storing it in warmth, warm water, who cares about warm water? You can still, warm water will last a long time. Trust me, I know. I've kept warm water closed and opened in our seats, underneath the seats of our car for months, 6 months to a year I've done this. And we use and rotate that water, but it's been in the hottest times, 100-degree plus heat in our car, right? Hottest times here in Texas. Been perfectly fine. The warmth is not what you have to worry about. Yes, you need to rotate more often, but it is storing it in direct sunlight, which is the mistake. So like if you have a rain barrel bucket or something like that, that is clear or white or something like that, that is kept when outside in direct sunlight, that's where you're gonna run into trouble, because it will start growing algae and stuff over time. Now, when you sanitize water with UV from the light, you're only keeping it in the light for 6 to 8 hours, something like that. And that's not going to grow the algae in that short amount of time. But it's the prolonged direct exposure to light that will cause a problem, okay? So you want to keep water in a cool, dark place to prevent the contamination of growth of algae, which can be the growth of bacteria and stuff like that. You can put a little bit of bleach in the containers if you like, but in general, just keep them out of direct sunlight and they'll store for many, many, many months. So not rotating stored water. So this is something that I just said. If you have water in non-ideal conditions, you don't have it in a cool place, you want to rotate it. Who cares about warm water? Sealed, bottled, warm water, not a big deal, literally at all, okay? A lot of people are worried about the leaching of the plastic in the water, and I get that. I really get it. But if you're rotating it every 6 to 12 months,
It's really easy, and you can easily rotate it. Just like grab a few bottles, every few months you can just grab a few bottles of water and like put them in your car and then drink them in the car. Or if you're going to go on a trip, just take them on the trip with you. You can use it for just drinking water. You water your plants with it. There's just so many ways to rotate water every 6 to 12 months. And then once you're rotating that water, you're getting a brand new case of water or whatever the case may be, right? So you're rotating it out. I mean, every year would be fine, regardless of where it's kept. Just out of direct sunlight, right? Regardless of where it's kept, as long as you're rotating out every year, it's fine. Now, technically, bottled water has an indefinite shelf life. But again, many people are very concerned about the leaching of plastic. I'm not really concerned about that, but a lot of people are. And so if you are concerned about that, you're just going to want to rotate more often. 1 or 2 years. If you keep it in the most ideal conditions, you can rotate out every couple of years, something like that. But it's not like you're rotating out the entire water collection that you have. You're doing it slowly, a little at a time, and then it's just like a natural rotation of water. So you always have fresh water on hand, no matter what. It's just a natural rotation of water. So another mistake that I see a lot of preppers make is inadequate water treatment. So the other day I saw somebody wanting to fill just empty jars with water and then close it. They weren't trying to seal it or anything like the water bath can it, because you can water bath can just jars of water, right? That's a way to seal it so that it keeps the contaminants out. It is technically an open container if you just hand tighten it. It's an open container. You can still have contamination in it, okay? This is the same with anything in which you fill the water yourself and then just close up the lid. If it is not sealed, it can be contaminated. So what you want to do is make sure that you're putting a little bit of bleach in it. I'm not saying you shouldn't store in canning jars. You want to do that, great. But if you are not sealing it, put that bleach in. You will also need to then do that probably every 6 months to a year. Continue to put the bleach in, or rotate the water and then put new bleach in that new water, that kind of thing. So even if your containers are cleaned, it doesn't matter how sterile your jars or your containers are, it is still an open container. So you want to make sure that the water that's going in is treated, as well as when you are taking it out for any potable purposes that you could treat it again. You can run it through a Berkey, right? Go ahead and run it through a Berkey, run it through whatever, and make sure that you are getting it nice and treated, okay? Okay, the last one is understanding your basic water needs. People just don't understand their basic water needs. And I think it's because it's so easy to get water, but also a lot of people just don't like water, which is so weird because I love water. I'm actually drinking a sparkling water right now. I love this sparkling water. It has no sugar, no sodium, nothing like that. It's just like a little sparkling water, and I love it. But sometimes you gotta have flavored water, or you want to have flavored water just to chug it down or whatever. I drink so much water. I drink one of these a day and that's it. Otherwise, I'm chugging a 20-ounce hydro flask of water all throughout the day, and I'm refilling it all the time. And this is something people just don't do. I and my kids carry a water bottle with us all day, every day. It never leaves home, or I never leave home without it, and it's always by my side within arm's reach so that I can always have water. You need to be sipping water throughout the day. If you really calculate it out, each person should be drinking about a gallon a day. And that's a healthy amount of water. Now, drinking slightly less is okay, but you may need more if you are working out. If it's the summer, right? Even in the winter, you need extra water. Okay, like it's not just because it's not hot anymore, I don't need more water. No, your body still needs water every day, all day. Okay, so that's 1 gallon of drinking water alone that you will need, and then you will need another gallon just for sanitization, cleaning, whatever else, okay, any other household needs. I did an experiment recently where I wanted to see how far 1 gallon could go. So 1 gallon is enough.
It is not. 1 gallon a day per person is not enough. And this scares a lot of people because they don't understand, well, how am I supposed to store that much? 2 gallons per person per day? You know, it does add up, absolutely. And you can't forget about your pets. You can't forget about livestock. You can't forget about everybody in your household that consumes water or uses water in some way for cooking, cleaning, hygiene, drinking, right? So these are all the things. And of course, you know, I have to have water with my coffee. Like, I can't have coffee without water. So, you know, water is a really big deal. Store water wherever you can. Under your bed, in your closets. You can store it in cabinets. You can store it in the freezer. Go ahead and fill up old like water bottle containers of water. Put it in the freezer. I've filled up Ziploc bags of water to put it in my freezer. Get that water stored. I guarantee, no matter where you live, in an apartment or whatever, I have stored water in every little nook and cranny. Even when I lived in the tiniest of RVs, you can store water, okay? Even if it's not enough to get you through like a 30-day period, if it's just like a couple weeks worth of water, you're well ahead of the schedule. And then you can start doing rainwater collection and you know, finding local water sources, and you can expand out from there. If you have a pool, that could be another resource, things like that. It sounds like a lot, you know, like you just want to buy the water or get the water and just like put it away and never forget about it again, never think about it again. But I guarantee you are going to want to make sure that your water is as safe to consume and as easy to consume as your food, right? Because this is stuff we rely on. So if you don't make these mistakes, then you're going to be golden and you're going to be like the best prepper ever. And I got you.
Hi everyone, Morgan here. So today I want to talk about how to use and consume rainwater safely. I can't tell you how many people have come to my channel whenever I talk about rainwater and they say, don't ever, under any circumstances, consume rainwater. And I think that there's a big concern about using rainwater because of potential pollutants, especially like if you're using gutters and it comes from a roof, and certain types of roofs, you know, like asphalt roofs and things like that. You know, people are concerned with this, and I totally get that. You know, I get that people are concerned with pollutants in their water. But there's a couple things that you can do. First of all, you can use rainwater to water your garden. You can use rainwater for your livestock. Now, in saying that, and you can also consume rainwater. So these are our two rainwater collection totes back here. They are collected from the gutters, and it comes down into here. Now we cover our rainwater with a tarp. With excess sun exposure to water, it will start to create algae, and you know, it may be more suitable then for, you know, just your garden at that point. But what you could do is you could always put a little bit of bleach in your rainwater container, so that way, you know, when the rainwater is being collected, it's kind of being purified at the same time. You could also use a UV light. Whenever rainwater is collected inside of it, you can take a UV light. They sell like really big UV lights, and you can actually put it inside of that container to sanitize that water. It could take, you know, like 4 hours. It depending on the size, it could take anywhere from like 30 minutes to 4 hours to completely sanitize, you know, certain amounts of water. It just depends on how much water you're wanting to sanitize. But so, you know, you could use bleach as a water sanitization. You can use the UV light as a sanitization, or when you simply take it from the barrel, you can filter and then boil or sanitize using your preferred method of sanitization before you consume it. So you can definitely use rainwater for gardening. You can use it for your livestock, and you yourself can also consume it after you have sanitized or purified it, okay? Also, just make sure that no matter what rainwater system you're using, that there's always some sort of screen or
way to prevent any sort of bugs or debris from getting inside of that rainwater. You know, put some sort of cloth mesh where the rain can still come in, but bugs can't get in, debris can't get in. That will also help to keep the water as clean as possible, and also to prevent, you know, mosquitoes from breeding. Nobody wants that. So yeah, there's lots of ways to safely use rainwater. I highly recommend that everyone have a rainwater collection system. It doesn't have to be like this. You can even just get like a 5-gallon bucket, put some mesh over it, and let rainwater come into it like that, okay? It's better than nothing. I think you could also get 55-gallon drums. They're not little, they're big, but 55-gallon drums if you have the space for that. But get creative with your rainwater collection, but just again, always make sure that you have some sort of mesh to keep bugs out, but to make sure that the water can still go in.
Hey everyone, Morgan here. So today I'm going to be talking about the differences between pool shock and just regular bleach. I'm going to be talking about just versus, you know, should you store pool shock or should you store bleach? And really the answer isn't so clear cut, but what we want to look at with the bleach first of all is that it is regular bleach. Do not use scented bleach, okay? We also want to make sure that the container looks good, there's no, you know, dings or anything. Make sure that you can see the expirations, all that, and also mark on the bottle as well, like when you bought it. Okay, I bought this on, you know, 4/18/2019 or whatever. That'll help with expiration. The same with pool shock. Go ahead and write, you know, when you bought it, but make sure that the package looks good and you know, there's no cuts or tears, or you know, it's not hard inside. And so once we get past that point, how do we disinfect with either of these? Well, first of all, I want to talk about the importance of storing pool shock and bleach. Okay, so when you store bleach, you just store it in its regular container, right? And we store it under a locked cabinet. And with pool shock, we store it in a plastic container, a sealed container. And we store that in a locked cabinet as well. So as you can see, you know, some sort of sealed container like this plastic container is perfectly fine. Try to keep it in its original package. Try not to, you know, pour it out anywhere. And you could also store it in some sort of glass container. Again, try to store it in its original package within the glass container, and then just seal up the glass container. You know, in just like a mason jar or something. So either of those options would work. You want to try to keep them in cool, dry places, and that can be really difficult for places in like the South, like here in Texas where it gets hot, right? And you want to try to keep it, you know, away from the indoors, but you know, you can keep it like some in under a sink or something, you know, as long as it's sealed. So I would recommend keeping them either in the garage, which will degrade the product, the chemicals a lot sooner. Okay, so like pool shock has a shelf life of 2 to 3 years, right? But it could degrade faster if it's kept in a hot place like a garage or shed or something. The same with bleach. Bleach only really has a shelf life of about 6 months, and then it'll start really degrading from there. So try to keep them in cool places if you can. You know, keeping them in your home is fine, you know, as long as you have them in those sealed containers, and then keeping them out of reach of children, of course. You know, like we have ours in a locked cabinet. And so already, you know, the shelf life of pool shock treatment is great compared to bleach, right? But how do we actually make and purify water with either the bleach or the pool shock? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put on the picture here on the video exactly how to do it with bleach, and then this is how you do it with pool shock. So pay attention to these numbers, okay? And I'm going to put this below in the description box so you can copy and paste it somewhere, because this is very important. You will want a dropper when it comes to the bleach, and with The pool shock, what's interesting is that I've seen a few methods, but the one that I felt was the most effective, and I've made it myself this way, is using 1 teaspoon of pool shock per gallon of water to actually make the chlorine solution, okay? So with pool shock, you actually have to make the solution. You don't pour the pool shock in straight into the water that you want to disinfect. You're pouring the pool shock into clean water, like a gallon of water that's from the store or something, and then making the chlorine solution like you're making your bleach solution, and then you're going to disinfect the water. So you use 3/4 of an ounce of the pool shock solution that you just made to treat a gallon of water. And that makes it pretty easy to calculate regardless of the size of your container. Some may use different methods with the pool shock. I have seen different methods, but this seems to be a very easy method to use and remember. So just make sure that you are paying attention to how you are making this stuff and how much or how little you are using, and make sure that you are using safety precautions as well. Always use proper gloves, a mask, eyewear, bleach, using bleach and pool shock can be, they are toxic. They are caustic, and you want to make sure that you're just taking proper safety precautions. So that's essentially it, the difference between pool shock. Pool shock makes a solution, and then you use that solution to disinfect the water, and then the bleach is just ready to go. But it's really up to you about which one you want to use or store. You can do both, it's totally up to you. But I hope that this was helpful. I'm going to have some of that information down below in the description box, and copy paste that somewhere, and you could even write it down and tape it to the bleach or the pool shock, whatever's going to work for you. Hey everyone, Morgan here. So we had got some off-brand Berkey filters. These are the Aqua Crest Berkey filters. They look like Berkey filters. They should act like it. So what we're going to do is actually do the red dye test on it. So for every gallon, it's already starting to filter. So we have to kind of hurry up. We don't have like a whole gallon right now, but for every gallon, we're gonna put a teaspoon of red dye in it to see if it'll filter it out. All right, so ours only holds maybe a little over a gallon. A gallon's probably good. Anyway, so I put the red dye in. You can see it's red. And it's already started to filter a little bit. This is filtering really fast. Like, I feel like way faster than it should. Like, it's just coming out, not in a drip, but in like a stream, which is weird. So our well that we're on right now is really heavy in iron. We do need to filter it out. Like some of our water is really, really yellow, and we need to like flush our systems and stuff like that. Like our house has been sitting for several months before we bought it. And so we are just wanting to get some good drinking water. We have a filter in our refrigerator, which is fine. We replaced it, it's good now, but we want the regular drinking water from our Berkey too, and paying $180 for the Berkey filters is like highway robbery. It's gone up so much in price lately. I really like the Berkey, but man, those filters are just so expensive. So I'm really hoping that this alternative works. It looks like it's working so far. There we go, it's dripping now. It was on like a sieve before, but yeah, it's dripping now. But yeah, I mean, it's getting out. It's getting it out.
You have that or something?
Yeah, you can open it. All right, I'm pretty satisfied. I'm gonna take this, Josh. I'm gonna take this so that we can look at it in the sun, etc. So yeah, there you go. Just really make sure. I mean, it looks clear, I don't really see any hinges or hues. I'm trying to take it in like a neutral space. Hinges or hues or hints of the red. I'm just not seeing anything. Are you ready to go on an adventure?
Yeah.
Let's go. You don't want to go in there? I think they're gonna go in there. Look, they're having fun. Oh. The GeoPress is on the right and the UltraPress is on the left. They both remove all pathogens, viruses, bacteria, protozoa. They also filter and clean particulates, absorbs volatile organic compounds, chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, heavy metals, flavors, and odors. The GeoPress is 24 ounces and the UltraPress is 16.9 ounces. So Grail is very specific about the fact that you really want to make sure that the type of water that's going through these filters is not going to be brackish. I don't see too much brackish around. It looks all right. It looks fine to me. Like, it's not, you know, it doesn't look super bad or cloudy. If you felt that, you know, this is like the only water source and you felt, wow, this is kind of mucky, you could run it through a cotton filter first, like a bandana, and then you could run the water that you just ran through the filter into here. Okay, so let me show you how these work. You always want to try to keep the top where you're going to put your mouth away from the dirty water. So if you have something to put it on or something, I would definitely recommend that. Even keeping this away from the ground or anything like that. So you're going to take the tops off, and you pull this out. That's the actual filter. And same with the other one, the actual filter. Okay, so you take these two and you're going to fill these with water. There's actually a fill line right here. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, here, let me show you a little better. There we go. There's a fill line. You don't want to fill too much further because we're about to press the water. So you don't want it to like overflow and get crazy. So that's the fill line. Okay, now that they're filled, they're actually below the fill line. So I'm just gonna push. There we go. Push. Now all the water that I just pushed through is now in here and ready to drink. It actually, as you pushed, it filtered it through. Sorry about the wind. But as you pushed it through, it filtered it through. So there, I don't know if you can see, there's the water. I don't know if you can see the water. So you can put the top back on and do the same over here. And again, the water's filtered through. So, put that right there. I would suggest wiping off the outside because the outside might have that contaminated water, and then you put the contaminated water all over the spout, all over your water. So if you have hand sanitizer or anything like that, that might help as well. Just don't touch the actual spout with your contaminated hands. I think the only downside about this is that I wish it was attached somehow. This one is not attached, but this one is. So I wish it was like that on both of them, but I do like this design on here. So you just take it. Now I'm going to drink. Boy, here we go. Tastes fine to me. Let's taste it out of this one too. I guess if I'm sick, I'm just gonna be sick from both. You know, I love water bottles with filters. I think this is genius. It's easy to carry. My kids can carry it around. It's easy to refill. The push was super easy. I like the handles. The handle on this is pretty nice because it comes up and down, so I can hook this like a carabiner. I could do the same with this one as well. And they both fit really nicely in the side pockets of my backpack, which I'll show you here in a second. So I filled them both up. Let's go. All right, here they are on the side of my backpack. There's the bigger one. There's a little bit smaller one. This one will fit in
more backpack sizes than probably this one. Like this one, I think I have like an abnormally large cup holder, but I like it. You know, I like this bigger one. My husband saw it and he's like, oh, I want it just because of the color. When you aren't going to use your water filters for a long time, like you're just going to let them sit, you need to let them air out completely. I would say just let them air out for like a good week or so. Take them completely apart, let them all air out, clean them, with clean water, all that, and just let them completely air out. All right, it's been a couple days from drinking this water. Didn't get sick or anything, so I mean that's a pretty good sign. You didn't get sick from the water that you drank, that you ran through a water purifier. So hey everyone, Morgan here. You know why you're here, so let's go ahead and get started on making this DIY water filtration. So I always thought that this was a really crazy idea because it was so expensive, but I used cheaper filters which made this under $100, and I will talk about that later. But this is all you need: buckets, filters, and a spigot. And that's basically it. Okay, you need some tools and things like that, which husband is going to show you here in a minute. He did most of the heavy lifting, okay, not gonna lie. So what he's doing now is he's lining it up, getting the spigot, making sure that everything is gonna fit in here with the water filters and all this stuff, but it's super easy. Anyone can do it. So he's just gonna line up the spigot here. So he's gonna get a Sharpie and put a little circle around at the bottom of it to make sure that he has the right dimensions for this specific spigot. He's then going to take a drill bit that is a little bit smaller just to make the first hole. Then he's going to take a larger drill bit that's going to make the actual hole for the spigot. You want the spigot to be nice and snug in there. So, you're kind of pushing it in there a little bit. That's good. We want it to be nice and snug. So then just put the fasteners on and fasten that spigot right in there. Nice and easy, isn't it? He used some tools here to tighten it further just to make sure that baby doesn't come out. Now it is time to line up the filters with the lid on the bottom. So what we did with the spigot, that spigot part is going to be on the bottom. Now this is where the filters are going to be in this top bucket. So he's going to take the filters and line it up. We want to make sure that the bucket stays kind of in the middle so it's not protruding onto the little slats on that lid there, as you can see. So he's just going to take a small bit and make one small hole first, and then we're going to measure it again and make it a bigger bit, and again one more time just to make sure that we're not making it too big. You can always go bigger, you can't go smaller, you know what I mean? So then he gets a bigger bit and does it for a third time. Now he knows which bit to use, so he'll just use that on the next one. But then he just spins that water filter into that hole, and it's good. Again, it needs to be a snug hole, so you can't have it too small, you can't have it too big either. So that's why he did the smallest one first. We tested it, and then we kept doing it until we found the right size bit. So these are off-brand filters. These are not Berkey filters. If they were Berkey filters, this system would be well over $100. It would probably be closer to $200 instead of under $100. These filters are exactly the same as Berkey, and I'm going to put a link down below to where you can get these filters. I've used them, I continue to use them. This is what we're using, and it works for us, and they're great filters. You always want to prime brand new filters, and these are brand new. So prime them. It usually comes with instructions on how to do that. So prime them before you use them. So now that they're primed, we're going to go ahead and screw them into the water filter here system. So just going to go ahead and screw them in, and here's some music while you watch us screw in the water filters. Line up the lid so that you're screwing the water filters in through the lid, of course, so that the water can drip down into that bottom bucket.
And I decided to be helpful to screw in that little bit. Look, Mom, I'm helping. Oh, my husband does so much for me. Thank you, husband. And I just wanted to show that I'm helping again. Look, I'm helping. Okay, now we got the filters in there through the lid. Now we're just going to go ahead and tighten the lid and the top bucket onto the bottom bucket. We're also going to fasten the top lid on, although we don't need to do that until after. This is just for demonstration purposes. Hey, you want to make sure that it's nice and sturdy, and you got that top lid there. You're always going to want that top lid on while the water is in it, to keep debris and dust and all that stuff out. But voila, it's done. Okay, so we decided to pour a bunch of water in there and get it going. I mean, why wait to test it, right? Test it now. Okay, so it is working as planned. What's nice is that this is a 5-gallon bucket, right? I have 5 gallons of potential water, being able to filter through. So all right, so we're going to show you that it is indeed working. See that little splashing in the bottom there? Oh yeah, and the light was really helpful here. You can see the water up top and then the water filtering down into the bottom. It really, it takes as long as it takes. I'm not really worried about how long it takes. It is a gravity fed system, but the spigot is great. It works. There you go. Water is coming out. I had to wait, I think, like an hour before it was fully filtered or whatever, but this water was so good. These filters are great. The system is perfect. I highly recommend making this under $100. Put a link down below to where you can go find this, and there's a link to full instructions on my website. Conquer tomorrow by preparing today. Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, Morgan here. So on today's video, I want to talk about how to carry 72 hours worth of water in your bug out bag. Now, a lot of people say that they don't carry water in their bug out bag, and I think it's unrealistic to say that you can carry 72 hours worth of water in your bug out bag, because water is really heavy. And especially right now in times like the Texas summer, Arizona summer, just summer in general everywhere, heat waves. It's hot in the summer, okay? So you need a lot more water, especially if you decide to bug out on foot. If you're bugging out on foot, you're gonna need way more water. Every time I go out with a camelback, I can deplete that camelback within a 2-hour, 3-hour hike in the middle of the summer, 95, 100 plus degree heat. So going through water with one person is not that hard, okay? Now, finding water is a good solution, but let me go over how to actually carry and purify water for a 72-hour period. Now keep in mind, the water purification systems and stuff should last you much longer than 72 hours. You really want to make sure that you're looking at the water purification systems and seeing how many gallons it can purify. A lot of carbon filters and such can purify a lot longer than it says it can, but that's just its recommended purification standards. So what I have in my bag, I have a couple things. I have this Move water filter bottle, and I also am going to start carrying this Life Straw bottle with they both have water purification systems inside, so I can just scoop up some water into here and go. I love water bottles. There's also Seychelles. There's going to be a picture over here. I have that. I actually need to replace the filters, but that's a good option as well. Anything with a water purification system inside the bottle is great, because you can just scoop up and go. I carry a water bladder in my bug out bag. Now, as long as your water bladder is clean and you put clean, purified water inside of that water bag, you'll be fine. It's not going to create mold or mildew or anything like that. Now, in saying that, I will highly suggest that you take it out every 6 months and just clean it. You just want to make sure that you're having the cleanest water possible in there, because you are storing water in a container that wasn't sealed. It's not airtight, nothing like that. So when you are keeping water in your water bladder, take the water out every 6 months and clean the water bladder, let it dry completely, and then put new purified water in there, and you can let it sit another 6 months. It's fine. I do that. I've never had a problem. It's never tasted weird. Sometimes it might be a little warm, but not sometimes. It is warm because, it hasn't been in the fridge, but who cares? Warm water is still good. So there, with the water bladder, I at least have some water in my bag ready to go. You could also carry water bags. There's smaller little bags of water. I'm going to put a picture over here. I bought some a while ago and I put it through an endurance test. Literally, from the height that I'm standing right now, I threw the water bag down to the ground, just on a porch, just like this, from this height. I'm 5'2", and it exploded. And I didn't even give it that much force. I'm not that strong. I mean, I'm strong. I got some muscles, but I'm not that strong. And it exploded. So you just want to be careful with the water bags. I would put it in a Ziploc or some kind of other bag like that, just for, that extra security feature of those bags. But those little bags of water are already purified. They last a long time. That's definitely an option. Having these collapsible bags are just so amazing. You can secure them nice and small and tight. They're so lightweight. They take up little space in your bag. I put numerous of these in my bag because I can just scoop up the water and then I can go back to camp and purify it however I want, with water purification tablets, with the Life Straw or Survivor filter or some kind of pump system, or just put it in my water bottle. Having bags like this where you can just scoop up the water and go is going to be really convenient. You can also use a bottle like this. This is a stainless steel bottle. You can boil the water right in stainless steel bottles like this. With your cook set, you can boil the water in it. Any sort of stainless steel system is going to be good. And, titanium is also going to be really good. Titanium is nice and lightweight. So when it comes to actually bugging out does not necessarily mean I'm going to grab my bag, throw it on my back, and walk out my door. It could mean I'm going to grab my bag, throw it in my car, or on my bike, or however you decide to bug out, and go from there. You're not necessarily immediately throwing it on your back and walking out the door. It could be that you're throwing it in your vehicle. So if that were to take it into consideration, you can grab your gallons of water, which you're already storing for emergency purposes, right? So you can grab this when you're going out the door, and you can have several gallons of water, extra water, in your vehicle, and that's a great way to carry water as well. In the bag itself, the water bladders or bottles of water that maybe already have water in it, or as you're walking out the door, filling the bottles with water and then putting them in the bag, that could also be an option as well. It kind of depends on how much time you have, a lot of different factors. If you are sourcing water and purifying it on the go, just be aware that even if you live in an area that has an abundance of water, you may not have the opportunity to just stop all the time and take the time you need to pick up water, purify it, and then be on your way. That can take a little while. If you've ever taken the time to stop, collect water, and then purify it, or collect it, take it back to camp, and then purify it, or whatever your system is, it can take some time. So just be aware of that. And you're really going to have to work out your routes in which there's spots in which you can potentially go unseen while you're collecting that water. It just all depends. You can always carry a Silcock key, picture right over here. And if you're in an urban environment, you can get water from buildings. The Silcock key is invaluable. I have it in my get home bag, bug out bag. I have it in all my systems because it's invaluable, especially for urban and city purposes. As far as water purification goes, water purification straws, water purification pumping systems, and water purification tablets are all going to be systems that you'll want to have in your bug out bag because they may all serve different purposes. And the water purification bottles, of course, with the water straw already in it. So that you can have different resources for different situations. If you need something quick, you just got to grab it in the bottle, swoop it up, and run. Well, that would be an option. The bottles are going to be really good for that. If you need to, you know, scoop up a bunch of water in these bags, and it's nice because these can just clip on the outside or something. You need to scoop up the water and then put some water purification tablets in it. That's a good option too. It's just nice to have these options. And this is all just stuff to consider. Think about, how are you going to get water? And remember, even in winter, fall, and spring, you're still going to need water because you still need to cook, you need it for hygiene, you need it for cleaning, and of course, you need it for drinking. Water pretty much runs our lives. Water is life. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has given you some ideas. You know, there's always ways to work water into your system. And if it adds that extra weight, well, then it adds the extra weight. To me, water is so important, especially living in a droughty area. So I always go overboard with water and water purification and stuff like that. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you really like my videos, come and visit me on my website down below at roguepreparedness.com. I have a whole bunch of free stuff on that website, plus a whole bunch of great information. And come visit me on my social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, all down below. Thank you all so much for watching. Conquer tomorrow by preparing today. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.